What's up, everybody? Today we're going to explain what different real estate niches are out there and give you quick definitions. Now, I know that when I first started real estate investing, I would listen to books and I'd be like, ooh, what's that? Oh, what's that? Ooh, what's that? So we're going to give you the quick, down and dirty overview of different types of real estate niches, and we are literally just going to give you like a super short definition. And then if you want more information about it, check out some of my content. I've got much more detailed explanations of most of these. All right, so the first one, wholesaling. What is wholesaling? Wholesaling is where Dave, me, goes and finds a seller who wants to get rid of a house and is willing to take a lower offer than it's, quote, worth because the house is in massive disrepair or they have personal stress or foreclosure or whatever. We are solving a problem for them. We get it at a discount, and then we sell assign the contract. So I have this purchase and sale agreement. I assign that purchase and sale agreement to this other investor who actually buys the house, and I do so with a fee baked in, and I get that fee. So if I buy this house for $50,000 and I sell it to him for $60,000, I get $10,000 at closing. This person takes that house, flips it, and either sells it, whatever. The numbers have to work for him. Has to be a big win-win. But you're basically getting this assignment fee in return for a ton of marketing and helping solve people's problems. Next up is house flipping. That person who bought the wholesaled house is now going to spend money renovating this house that has just been in massive disrepair. If you watch HGTV shows, you've probably seen this. They take a really ugly, beat up or outdated house, and then they renovate it and they sell it for a lot of money, right? They make a good profit, but there's you got to be really involved in that process, and there are risks associated with it. Not as easy as HGTV makes it out to be. Okay, what is buy and hold investing? That's just rental properties. So what's a rental property? It is a house that you buy with the intention of holding it for a long period of time and renting it to other people for profit. So either you're renting it for enough money that you can hold on to it while the property hopefully goes up in value, or my preferred method, you're renting it for enough money that every month there's a little bit left over after all of the expenses, cash flow, so that you can actually benefit from owning all these properties. Okay, next up, multifamily syndications. A syndication is where, let's say you're like, man, I got this phenomenal apartment building with 100 units that I'm gonna buy, and it costs $10 million. Okay, so if it costs $10 million to buy this thing and you don't have $10 million, how are you gonna get the money? Yeah, you can go to a bank, but what syndicators do is they say, hey, this is awesome. Let me go find 100 people to loan me money and we will buy it together. And so they get a return on their money, and you pool all these people's money together. They're investors, you run the deal. There's a lot of different ways to structure it, but that's the oversimplified way, is a lot of investors pooling their money together to buy a big property. All right, what is private lending? This is less of a niche and more of just a fun thing you can do. Private lending is where you lend money to an investor for a agreed upon return. This isn't an equity partnership. This is just basically being the bank. So if you have money sitting in a self-directed IRA or an IRA that you could put in a self-directed IRA, this is a great option. If you just have money laying around, this is still an option. Prime example, I've had a few friends who lent me money on a property. I paid them 1 point, which is like a 1% of the total loan amount as an origination fee, and then 10% interest. I paid it all to them at the end of the flip, so I wasn't making monthly payments. And so they lend me this money, I send them money back plus interest, and everybody's happy. What is the Burr strategy? That is the buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. This is basically like if you flipped a house, but instead of selling it, you refinanced it to pull some cash out and rented it out as a long-term buy and hold. So it is the combination of flipping and buy and hold rentals combined. So you buy a house, you renovate it, you refinance it, and then you rent it out, right? And the reason you refinance it is to pull your money back out of the renovations. What are short-term rentals? That's like what I'm doing with this big house. When my office is down below and I Airbnb the upstairs. So I rent this place out for anywhere from $170 to $225 a night. It pays for the mortgage. People come in, they stay for a weekend, or they come during the week if it's a work trip. They stay, they pay, they stay for a couple days. It's basically like running a hotel out of your house. hospitality business. It's a lot more active, but it can make a lot more revenue. Okay, so what are midterm rentals then? This is picking up steam. This is becoming a little bit more popular. Basically, that is anything from 30 to 90 days or I guess 30 days to 6 months, but 30 to 90 days typically as a tenant, right? So this would be like, the best example is traveling nurses. They go somewhere for like a 3-month or 6-month contract. They need a place to stay. They're willing to pay a little bit more because they're getting paid well. They come, they stay in your furnished place for 3 months, and it's a midterm rental because it's not as much turnover, it's a good booking, and it's a solid tenant. All right, the next 3 aren't necessarily niches, but just other terms that you might hear, and they're ways to buy houses or sell houses, and I'm gonna just touch on them real quick. So the first is, what is seller financing? Seller financing is where you negotiate with a seller so that they are essentially acting as the bank. So you buy a house for $100,000, and instead of going to the bank and getting the loan and buying the house, you go to the seller and say, hey, I give you $100,000, but how about I do it at 4% or 5%, 10%, whatever that interest rate is, over 25 years, and we'll put a balloon payment at 10 years. Now, I'm oversimplifying this, and I'm not going into details because it gets complicated. You can literally, like, you can lengthen or shorten the time frame. You can adjust the balloon payment or no balloon payment. You can play with interest rates. I mean, there are so many things that you can do to play with how this payment strategy works. You can even do interest only. I've even done one where I bought a house for 0 down, 0 payments, or 0 down, 0 interest, and no payments for 12 months. So bought the house, don't owe them $1 until 12 months from purchase date. Pretty sweet ordeal. Now, that's not to say that you're going to be able to get this all the time, but it is a way to buy. And the reason that a lot of sellers like this is because it mitigates their capital gains tax on year 1. It also, like, let's say they're 60 or 70 years old and you could do like a 10-year seller carry, then that's 10 years of cash flow and you know, income that they're getting that they wouldn't have had if they just sold the rental, All right, now what is a lease option? Lease option is basically saying, hey, I'd like to buy your place, but you know, how about you let me take over all of the operations, and I have 3 years to actually execute a purchase. So this would be like saying, hey, you know, like I did this on a building in Branson, like a big mixed-use commercial building. It was like, hey, I'll give you this much money for 3 years of operating this building, and if I can't get a mortgage and actually purchase it by the end of that 3-year mark, then you get the building back, and I have 3 years to buy it at that price. So if the market goes up in value, I'm benefiting from that equity. Cool. And then the final one I got down here is, what is a rent to own? So rent to own is kind of like a lease option, but it's with a tenant. And a lot of times people do this with like a single family. So basically it's saying, hey, you give me a small down payment, you make monthly rental payments like a tenant, you take over taxes and insurance on the property, and you effectively own it as long, it's kind of like seller financing to a tenant is kind of the like cross there. So you're not having to pay all the expenses, repairs, maintenance, whatever. They're taking it over, and as long as they make their payments and pay stuff down, they're going to be able to buy the house. So there's a lot of niches and strategies and benefits and definitions and whatever. Hopefully you got something out of it. If you'd like me to do some more basic definition stuff like this, comment down below and let me know, and have a great day. Thanks for watching. You've made it to the end of the video. If you got something valuable out of this, please consider smashing that like button, subscribing to the channel, and checking the little bell for notifications so that you get to see more valuable content. Depending on what you're interested in, we've got a ton of other playlists on you know, real estate investing, military advice, getting rich in the military, VA loans, you name it. And make sure you get plugged in the community, in the Facebook group and other platforms. Also, if you haven't done so yet and you've still got a lot of questions, especially if you're a younger service member, check out the No BS Guide to Military Life. This is everything I wish I'd known when I first joined the military, and I wrote it to pass on so that other people don't have to say, God, I wish someone had told me that when I was younger. So hope you got something out of this. If you got ideas for other videos or questions, throw them in the comments. I definitely do reply to most everything that's in my comments, and I look forward to seeing you around the channel again. Have a great day.